Welcome back to News Talk and our conversation this Monday with Prince George's County Executive Rushern Baker. If you're watching us live in the 11 o'clock hour, 11 a.m. to noon, and have a question or comment for Executive Baker, we would love to make you a part of our conversation. So grab an open line now while we have them. We're happy to take your calls and entertain whatever your question or comment is. The number we'll post to the bottom of the screen. As always, it is 703-387-1020. Grab an open line now and get in queue. We'll go to the phones as your questions and comments come in. Mr. Exec, I would love to talk with you about the county's economy. One aspect of the work that you're engaged in now, the pursuit of federal agencies which don't just bring lots of employees who would spend money in local stores and go to the dry cleaners and shopping and all of that, but a certain amount of prestige as well. And sometimes, depending on the agency, you get private sector companies wanting to be proximate to whatever the agency is. A lot of focus on the FBI. Curious what, if anything, you're hearing there. I know the federal dollars aspect of it is there's sort of news there, but it's the pursuit of these big federal acquisitions, as it were, is not limited to the FBI. You're after the INS as well.
Yes, we are. I mean, it has been really good for us in terms of the economy in Prince George's County. If you look at the expansion around the Washington region, the most of it has happened in Prince George's County. We feel good about the FBI. Senator Mikulski is phenomenal and was able to secure funding in there at the federal level.
Huge money.
Huge money. And, you know, with our sites at Landover and at Greenbelt, we feel like we have the best sites there are. And as you said, it not just brings the FBI a consolidated building if we were to land it. It's a $2 billion development. Those don't come around every day. So you have the FBI, which potentially could come here, and businesses around it. But we're also going after Homeland Security. We're also going after expanding at the Census Bureau in Suitland, which is, we've just put about $50 million of county money in the development around the Suitland Metro Station that's going to develop itself. You look at what we're doing over at New Carrollton with the IRS there and the employees, federal employees there, and now state employees in that area. 2U, which is a online educational component, which is going to bring jobs around New Carrollton, and University Town Center, which has federal workers, where Senator Mikulski was able to help us keep those Treasury jobs.
You're going to miss her.
I am going to miss her a tremendous lot. She's phenomenal.
And good news about National Harbor, already a significant destination, not just within the county, but in the region, in terms of some of the restaurants, some of the chef power, if you will, for that part of the county.
Yes, for MGM National Harbor to bring it into chef power. You know, I was down at National Harbor yesterday with my wife, and it was crowded. It's a mini city, and it's what we want throughout Prince George's County. But as she said, it's not just National Harbor. I go back to Suitland, where we're doing work. The fact that we're expanding, NOAA employees are coming out here. We have more climatologists in Prince George's County than anywhere in the United States.
And given where the future may be headed, that's potentially a big thing.
That is a huge thing.
The primary in Maryland is tomorrow, and I want to talk with you about politics.
I'm surprised.
I know, right? Your decision to endorse Maryland Congressman and U.S. Senate hopeful Chris Van Hollen, given the opportunity to endorse a Prince Georgian and a person of color who would be not unique in the Senate, but darn close to it. There have been very few African-American women ever to serve in the U.S. Senate. Was this a tough call, and why, at the end of the day, did you pick Van Hollen over Edwards?
Well, it was a tough call. Certainly the historic nature of electing an African-American female there, someone who I've worked with, who's very smart, Donna Edwards. But for me, in the end of it, we just talked about why I picked Chris Van Hollen. I know him personally. I've worked with him for over 25 years. But more importantly, that we need somebody in Prince George's County, the state of Maryland. They're going to have this seat for 30 years probably. You know, we need somebody who can get things done. Somebody on day one who knows how to pull the levers on Capitol Hill and make things happen. He's done that. I mean, he's the fourth-ranking member on the House side. And for us in Prince George's County, and for me, I look at the things that we're going to need, not just federal workers coming here, but transportation, education, health care. I wanted somebody for Prince George's County in the state of Maryland that could deliver. And I felt like I had an obligation as county executive to pick the best person who could deliver for the residents of Prince George's County. And so in that respect, it made it easy for me to pick Chris.
Later in the hour, we'll be talking with former Montgomery County Councilwoman Valerie Irvin, who is supporting Donna Edwards. Is it something about because you and Mr. Van Hollen were in the legislature at the same time, at a time when he was first as sort of an outsider, then as part of leadership, very adept at crafting deals and compromise and trying to find the proverbial win-win. Supporters would say those are skills he's taken with him to Capitol Hill. Was it that in the main that draws you to Chris Van Hollen? Was the constituent service aspect of it, where, again, Mr. Van Hollen's supporters would say he's head and shoulders above his rival on that score? Were those maybe the 1-2?
I think you got it just right. They are the 1-2. I mean, I worked with Chris when we had the Thornton legislation for education funding, which meant Prince George's County, Baltimore City, places he didn't represent, got a greater share of funding coming in for our education system.
Back during the schools, not stadiums debate.
That's right. And he crafted that. I mean, here's a guy out of Montgomery County crafting legislation that's going to help Prince George's County and Baltimore City. Same thing with health. You know, tobacco sensation, where we had tobacco money coming in. We in Prince George's County wanted to use that for hypertension, obesity, lung cancer, things that were affecting African Americans. Chris delivered on that. Constituent services. Even though he doesn't represent Prince George's County anymore, we went to him when we were talking about the FBI and talking about transportation, and he was able to help us. So he's effective. And, you know, those are the things that residents of Prince George's County want, and I think that's why you saw people supporting him.
To the phones, line 1 first. Hello, Elizabeth. You're on the air with the executive in Prince George's. Rushern Baker, go right ahead, please.
Hello.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi. I'm concerned about the comparison with Ja'Kai Colson, who was killed by a white police officer, in comparing that particular incident to the subject at hand. How can you clump it all together?
Did you follow the question?
I didn't follow the question.
Can you rephrase it again? You raised the issue of the death of the officer and race, but can you rephrase
it? In Prince George's County, we're talking about gun control. And here's I'm concerned about when you lump Ja'Kai Colson in with gun violence when he was actually killed by a white police officer who mistook him for one of the perpetrators who was shooting at the Prince George's County police station.
Okay. So here's the thing. That would not have happened had the individual
in the drive-by
with the illegal handgun in our state not been firing at the police station. That's the thing. Here's somebody who has a gun that's registered in Georgia. They bring it to Prince George's County, state of Maryland, and were able to cause this whole incident from happening. What I'm trying to do, you look at the number of homicides that have happened in the county. We have an obligation to reduce it any way that we can. One of the ways is not just by having more police officers out there, not just from doing the wraparound services we're doing in the county, but limiting the access to illegal guns that are coming in.
We have about a minute left, and I wish we had more. I apologize. Can you talk about how utility overseers in Maryland should view and respond to the PEPCO request for a rate hike?
Well, one of the things we're going to do on that is we're looking at their requests internally also, not just with the regulators in the state, but internally we have our folks looking at that. Certainly, you know, the timing couldn't have been any worse. So
why do you say that?
Well, I mean, right after the merger happened, then we have the rate hike. But we're going to have our folks in there. We're pleased with the merger. It's something I supported. I think it's going to help the citizens of the state of Maryland in the long run, and it's going to make it better for us. But we want to look at the rate hike. People will be cynical about the timing. Oh, sure. And from a leverage perspective, had this been known while utility regulators were deciding the matter of the Pepco-Exelon merger,
it would have been, at a minimum, more information to put into the mix. Now it comes afterwards, very conveniently for the company, at a time when it feels like the leverage has passed.
Well, one thing I want people in the state of Maryland to know is that, you know, we worked very hard on this deal. We had a really good set of attorneys working with us, and I think we got a great deal. And I think the merger in the long run is going to be good for Maryland and for the region.
Prince George's County Executive Rushern Baker joining us today here on News Talk. Always great having you here. I have more topics. We'll put them on the top of the list for next time. Hope you come back and visit with us again soon. Thanks very much for your time. We'll step aside here when we come back to the sports page and our man, Tom Threlkeld.